The following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998. Live from the 540 ESPN studios in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, this is the Pro Wrestling Report with David Hero, Frank Cosentino, Linda Kay, and your host, Damian Nelson.
That's more like it. That wasn't seamless at all. Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report. Welcome to the Pro Wrestling Report here on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com. Damian Nelson here live on September 19th, Monday, September 19th, along with David Hero and Linda Kay. Thank you for joining us on the first hour here of the Pro Wrestling Report. We're getting ready to roll into the second hour. We're joining us here live for the first time on the Pro Wrestling Report will be Dave Lagana, at Lagana on Twitter, the man behind I Want Wrestling, IWantWrestling.com, formerly of World Wrestling Entertainment, and currently of Ring of Honor Wrestling. So, we talked about WWE Raw. We talked about WWE Night of Champions from last night. David Hero, you gave that show a passing grade.
Well, who wouldn't? It wasn't a terrible pay-per-view.
80% of the audience gave it a passing grade initially. In the last 24 hours or so, a lot of that sentiment has changed because of John Cena winning the WWE Championship. And I don't think you can just look at that pocket of the pay-per-view and judge it all based on that, because a lot of good did come out of this pay-per-view last night. The challenge is, did WWE do enough last night to convince all of us to drop another 50 bills in 2 weeks for Hell in a Cell?
For me, not yet.
The two main events announced tonight.
Rematches.
The three-way.
It's rematches.
Yeah. But isn't it to be assumed that there were going to be rematches going in?
Yeah, for the most part.
Because it's 2 weeks?
Way too close.
But it's Hell in a Cell.
And that's how they're going to sell the pay-per-views, because it's Hell in a Cell. But
Hell in a Cell's value is about 20% of what it was at one time. And especially given what we saw tonight when they showed that promo for Hell in a Cell, if you have the Hell in a Cell DVD, those moments are done. They're gone. It's a prop.
You know what? A lot of the wrestling fans that are watching now are gonna hope to see those moments again, and they're gonna order it because they think they're gonna see it, and they're gonna be let down. You can't bleed anymore.
People were let down.
You can't do that crazy stuff anymore.
People were let down last year, though, weren't they?
You know what? What was the match last year in the Hell in a Cell?
Right. Exactly.
Was it Orton and Sheamus? Was that one of them? I don't remember.
We'll look it up while the interns get on that. One thing that the interns just forwarded me, or just showed me, from WWE and WWE.com, a la Kevin Nash, World Wrestling Entertainment has come to the terms on the release of The Miz.
Oh, my gosh.
And Ron Killings as of September 19th, 2011.
That's pretty funny. It really is. Okay? I mean, think about it. But you know what? I'm sure for a lot of people, when they see it, they're going to believe that.
Because not only did David Hero of the Pro Wrestling Report single-handedly ruin The Miz's career with picking him in the draft, you now have also gotten him fired. You miserable person. You ought to be ashamed of
How am I miserable?
You ruined this man's life.
You know, no, he did it to himself.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I cannot take any credit for the demise. Listen.
I'm listening.
Here's the thing.
What's the thing, Triple H?
But now he has aligned himself, or he will soon align himself, if things go well, the way it's looking, with Kevin Nash. A true super friend. So you know his career. See, Nash knew I picked him number one. So he knows that the guy is talented. How would you feel if he comes out with the NWO T-shirt on?
I'm not sold on that yet.
Why not?
I'm not sold on the fact that it may or may not happen. I'm not sold on that mixture, because when the Horsemen came back at their best, what were they? Evolution, not the Horsemen. I don't know if you can relaunch NWO.
Is that a stable reference for tonight?
Yeah.
Evolution, Horsemen.
No, what I'm saying is...
Put it this way. The Four Horsemen would have ruined Evolution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the bar was set lower, thus the expectations of the crowd set lower, because it was Evolution, not the Horsemen. You bring back the NWO, the bar is already at the ceiling, and you have to meet that. As opposed to...
No, it's not. Because the last time we saw the NWO, it was brutal. It was Big Show. It was Shawn Michaels. It was Kevin Nash. It was Scott Hall. It was a watered-down, crappy NWO. And now it's going to be some young studs that can work, that are entertaining. It'll be completely different. And you watch. For as many IWC wrestling fans out there that are going to be like, oh my God, we don't want the NWO back, a lot of the casual fans will be like, wow, the NWO is back, and they're going to tune in to see what's going on.
A lot of comments on our Facebook page, that same theory. We could perhaps see a new NWO, which, if that does indeed happen, I'll be very, very excited.
The fans want it.
Oh, yeah.
You know what?
They don't know what they want.
No. Listen. The unvocal fans want it.
The unvocal?
Yes.
Non-vocal?
The ones that aren't sitting at home behind a fake screen name,
Wrestling Mark 316?
Wrestling Mark 316. Yes, exactly. It's the ones that don't want it because they feel that they're holding somebody back, like a Zack Ryder or somebody else, that feel that they should get a bigger push or an opportunity, are the ones that are going to complain about it.
Well, maybe that's worthy of a Facebook poll. Maybe we'll get that out this evening and get your responses on that. But before we do that, and before we go to our guest who's going to be joining us in just a few minutes, Dave Lagana, David Hero, Blizzard Brawl 7, the time is here, the time is now. Before we get to that, this past weekend, Showtime EY, Eric Young was in Milwaukee, and a great time had by all who went to the GLCW show this past weekend.
It was a great time at Circle B in Cedarburg. Eric Young against Silas Young, the battle of the Young brothers, but they're not related. Great match, a lot of funny ha-ha
I thought
stuff.
they were. I thought they were going to have a tag match.
Eric, well, they tried. Eric Young, great guy. Super talented, funny ha-ha. He gets it. Actually was in town looking for a new tag team partner at Circle B in Cedarburg.
I understand he may have found it, and we will see some of that, his discovery, if you will.
We got some pretty cool exclusive footage that will be on Saturday night. The Pro Wrestling Report invades Milwaukee's My 24 at 10 p.m. following Ring of Honor. So it was a good time. And then, of course, went down to Blackthorn and had a little after party there. So it was a good time.
And on December 3rd, Blizzard Brawl 7. I understand you're ready to announce 2 matches.
Well,
one of them's announced already.
One has already been announced. Blizzard Brawl 7 will be at the Waukesha County Expo Center Saturday, December 3rd. Bell time is 7:30. BlizzardBrawl.com for tickets and more information. One of the matches already signed is the Master Lock Challenge, Linda Kay.
There's no challenge about it. I will destroy. Let me finish here. I will destroy Chris Masters single-handedly. You see these guns, Linda? Wow. Bang, bang. I will destroy Chris Masters. I ain't scared. I'm not afraid.
Isn't that an Eminem song? That should be your theme song.
I wrote
it.
Yeah.
You did. I bet you did. And then, of course, another match just signed is the GLCW Heavyweight Championship, whereas champion Al Snow and Head will go one-on-one with Chavo Guerrero and Pepe. So it should be rather... Nice. I think that's going to be a great match. More matches will be announced soon. I'm still working on the finishing touches, but keep going to BlizzardBrawl.com or follow Blizzard Brawl on Twitter at Blizzard Brawl for more hot news and updates.
I believe right now at BlizzardBrawl.com as well, tickets are available for Blizzard Brawl 7. Actually, also available at PWRshow.com. You can get a platinum, gold, or silver. Rows 1, 2, 3, or 4. All those include a meet and greet. I just want to make one thing clear. I'm not signed on for the meet and greet. So
nobody wants your autograph anyhow.
Tickets start at only $10 for a general admission ticket. Again, PWRshow.com or BlizzardBrawl.com to purchase those tickets online right now. Linda, tonight, you've announced that there is a theme of themes. I am the theme. And that is stables? Like the horses the cops are riding outside the window here?
No. Talking about WWE stables. We got a lot of good suggestions already on our Facebook page.
I'm not sure we're going to get to them. You might have announced that prematurely.
Well, we do have...
She's giving me that look again. And
It
again...
has that effect.
I'm done with you two. Let's go to the phones. And let's go to our first caller of the night. And let's quickly get to David out in Michigan. David, you're live here on the Pro Wrestling Report.
Hey, I'm actually one of the fans who would love to see the NWO return with Miz and shoot the match.
You would?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How old were you? How old were you in 1999?
Carry the 4 plus the 2.
How old were you?
19.
Okay. All right. Then I
I'm
understand.
back from like the old. I don't want to see it get over exploded like it did either, but just 4 or 5 guys is fine. But
well, the challenge I have, and why I won't be convinced until I see it happen. The challenge I have is it's trying to capture that lightning in the bottle again. I think the bolts are all depleted. I don't think it's possible. I think you could have a great stable, a great faction, a great group of those people.
You are the most negative guy I know.
Okay, Vince McMahon brought the NWO back in 2003. That lasted a month.
And why?
Because of Hogan's popularity.
No, and why? Because Scott Hall was a mess.
Okay, well, regardless, it was cool here in Milwaukee at No Way Out in 2003.
It was over like $1 million.
Absolutely it was. But you had Hogan, Nash, and Hall. You have Nash, Miz, Truth, and maybe CM Punk. If CM Punk goes in, I think that puts it over the top. I think that gives it more validity.
Okay, CM Punk couldn't get Nexus over.
There you go again.
What?
Oh, and you don't hate CM Punk.
I don't, but come on. How many groups has he had and hasn't gotten them over?
You know what I want to do now?
Straight Edge Society got nowhere. Nexus got nowhere. New Nexus got nowhere.
I want to talk to somebody who's been backstage. I want to talk to somebody who's written this stuff. I want to talk to somebody who is currently writing this stuff. I want to see what Lagana has to say about this, and we'll go to him in just a moment. We're going to come back here for the beginning of Hour 2 on the Pro Wrestling Report here on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
The following is a PWR exclusive.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report here on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com. Damian Nelson along with David Hero and the lovely social media diva, Linda Kay. And we're joined here now by the man from IWantWrestling.com himself, one of the most popular people on Twitter as it pertains to professional wrestling, David Lagana. Lagana, welcome here to the Pro Wrestling Report.
Hello, gentlemen and lady. How are we?
Absolutely tremendous. Good to finally have you on. It's like worlds colliding here tonight.
Yes, I know. Well, they actually collided in Chicago. And what was the thing I said to both of you? I said, why are you so damn tall?
Well, David Hero was wearing lifts in his shoes, but
I know, I checked. It was pretty disappointing that I'm so short. I'm not even that short. I'm 5'10", but I say a poor-man. I'm a pro wrestler, 6'1".
There you go. Absolutely.
Well, Lagana, why don't you share with us a little bit about the concept behind I Want Wrestling and the podcast that you do, which feature the formerly Creative podcast, which is an insight into the business that I don't think fans have ever really had the opportunity to get.
Yeah, the site idea, or just simply the term I Want Wrestling, came up as a promotional idea for when we were launching Ring of Honor for the HDNet show. And we were looking for sort of a tagline for, what people were hoping to get out of the wrestling show that we called as Ring of Honor on HDNet, and it was, we want wrestling. And I went and registered I registered both at the time. I think I had We Want Wrestling and I Want Wrestling, and decided to make it more of a singular thing as opposed to saying this is what collectively we want. It's more about what I want, and not me specifically, but what David Hero wants, what Linda Kay wants, what Damian wants. It's individually what we all sort of want from wrestling. So that was the launching point. And the podcast actually came second. I was just going to write blogs, and then, Cabana was doing very successful, and he suggested doing something a little different, and I did, and I've sort of expanded out to sort of tell some different stories as well beyond the writers. I'm sitting here actually watching the rerun of the Charlie Sheen roast, and there's Patrice O'Neal, who is a former WWE writer, who I've been trying to get on the podcast forever, but, trying to find interesting stuff, because there's a lot of shows out there, as you guys know. There's a lot of shows that are two guys in their basement that have two listeners, and it's usually two people hosting it. And
right.
You try to find different stuff that people would find interesting and want to spend time listening to you.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's, again, great insight into the business. And you obviously spent 6 years with World Wrestling Entertainment. It's one of those often spoken about creative guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people hate me.
There's nothing wrong with being hated, believe me.
I got a tweet from a dude in Cleveland last night who wrote, from one writer to another, you suck.
From one writer to another.
I said, well, thank you. I appreciate your feedback, and I wish you the best of luck in your writing career.
Keep reading and listening. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he wrote back, well, I followed your whole career. You ruined WWE. And I wrote back, well, I remember you sitting in the room and knowing exactly what I said and what I didn't say. So,
so this is really a writer that you were with in creative.
No, this was just some dude.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow.
Yeah, no, those guys just they end up just mysteriously reporting stuff to the internet, what they remember.
Hashtag toolbox, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a fun thing. I don't mind people disliking me, but the nice thing about Twitter is there's a lot of people who are very nice and ask questions, and they're the people who create fake accounts and send you hateful stuff. But those people have 3 followers,
like WrestleMark 316.
Yes, sure. He'll be. Yeah. The block button is your friend, as is just ignoring them. The best is people like, you didn't respond to me. I'm sorry. I got a lot of tweets today. Sorry.
And, how has, especially being in WWE, I believe it was 2002 through 2008, and in that time, I think that the social media and the internet per se really did make wrestling evolve. Being on the inside and now knowing what you know and doing what you do, how did it really change things as far as your role in World Wrestling Entertainment?
Well, when I was there, 2002 to 2008, if you go back and look at history, Facebook really took off in the second half of 2008. I had at the time, you could only have joined Facebook if you worked for a company or a school in 2008. And maybe I'm off a little bit, but I knew I joined through WWE because when I was summarily fired in 2008, I couldn't access my Facebook account. I actually started another one from scratch because I think at that point you could do it as an individual. It didn't exist. I remember being in a meeting in 2004, 2005, like Christmas, and I was like, you guys have to check out this thing called MySpace. It's cool.
Oh, yeah.
And the Hurricane Helms, Shane Helms was on there, and we were just joking about the other day, would you put me in your top 8? Remember the top 8? Remember
yeah.
Whole thing?
Yep.
And so, I was pitching it in a meeting to Shane and Jim Montes. They're like, no, don't worry. We're developing our own thing. They debuted WWE Universe in 2008. It took them 3 years to get the thing off the ground, and they shut it down last year, right?
Right, yeah.
So yeah, I was always pitching that. I was the first person in the company to discover YouTube, and I remember they hated it because they hated it because the Mark Henry cage door incident was on there when
he couldn't get it off.
Yeah, and it's still on there, but they didn't understand it, and even to now, I despise their social media. I love Joey Styles. I think he does well. But here's Michael Cole out there shilling about Twitter, and he refuses. We know what he did on it, and then he hasn't been on since.
Right.
But yet he's their company pitch man, and I always say practice what you preach.
Yeah.
And it's just par for the course of the company because they love the broadcast on it, but I don't know if they're really listening.
No.
I know as far as Ring of Honor, I read and respond to every Ring of Honor tweet that, someone has a legitimate question, where can I see it in the market or, this or that. I respond to everybody. I don't know if WWE or even TNA does that.
Only the divas do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know.
And it's interesting because it's a connection. And you speak of Ring of Honor's connection, especially this past weekend, Death Before Dishonor. There were a couple times where live tweets were referenced on the Live Eye pay-per-view. And it wasn't just stuff that was putting the company over. It was relevant stuff that wasn't just done for some marketing or promotional reason. And really that connection that you have with the fans, the instantaneous feedback that you get from the Twitters of the world is pretty amazing. And given the fact that a lot of companies claim, as you said, that they pay attention to it, but really don't, that could be one area where Ring of Honor definitely has an advantage, if you will.
Well, it's the company, even the new company. Everyone feels like Sinclair Broadcasting is, it's $1 billion company, but this is also they bought Ring of Honor smartly. They're they're only starting in the markets that they have stations. They're not out there buying time, like Vince used to do in the '80s.
Right.
To put this show on. Their single goal is to get the show in the markets. Like Milwaukee is going to be a strong market. I looked at I just looked at the station. They're on 2 stations there, and the best air times are in Milwaukee: Saturday at 9 and Sunday at 10, and Saturday at 1 and Sunday at 3 p.m. Those are the most prime times. Like Milwaukee, I don't know this for sure because I haven't seen the list, but I guarantee you Milwaukee will get an ROH show within the next 6 months because it can be paired with Chicago, and those times will get wrestling fans together.
Well, right now there's rumors it's going to be in February.
Oh, well,
from last I heard.
Hey,
you
that's
scooped me. I want scoops right here. So yeah, it's and having been the person that's been solely in charge of it since 2009, we launched our profile in May of 2009, and it's been great. And it's how we do our business. And it's until we get a marketing budget, until I think we said today, until we have $600 million on the books, profit, it's going to be, we're going to watch every penny, and it's important.
Mm-hmm. And you talk about the broadcast here in Milwaukee. Obviously the Pro Wrestling Report is going to be following Ring of Honor on Saturday nights at 10 o'clock for its first showing each week starting this Saturday night. But the station is very excited about this, especially since their highest-rated programming was wrestling programming.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously being the former home of some WWE programming. But it even goes back to the days of old where Challenge, Superstars, World-Class Championship
Go back
Wrestling.
further. Vern Gagne's
AWA. Glow and Power even on those stations here in Milwaukee. There's a connection between Ring of Honor and that wrestling of old. And we'll explain that and talk a little bit more about that after we take this time out, because having seen some of the footage from this Saturday's debut, it's like we're going back to the future, and it's a great thing from what we're going to see this weekend on Ring of Honor television. This is the Pro Wrestling Report here on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
540 ESPN.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report here on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com. We're live Monday night, September 19, 2011. Damian Nelson, along with David Hero and the social media diva Linda Kay, and our guest tonight, David Lagana, at Lagana on Twitter, of Ring of Honor Wrestling. A little bit of Davey Richards of the American Wolves there, coming back out of that timeout. And Lagana, before we took that break, we were talking about Ring of Honor and how it's sort of it's obviously a fresh product and obviously something different, but it's got a familiarity to it that I think is going to surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, it's as close to Jim Crockett Promotions / UWF as you're going to get in 2011. That's one of you talked about syndicated shows where I grew up in Philadelphia, which, by the way, I'm in the room that I grew up in. I'm actually at my parents' house in Philadelphia right now because I'm driving to Baltimore tomorrow to do some ROH work. And I grew up watching on Channel 56 and Channel 17 and Channel 29. We used to get WWE and NWA, but we also got UWF.
Yes.
On Channel 56. Actually, it was Channel 57. We got that and
Dr.
World
Death.
Savannah Jack.
Yes, the good old Savannah Jack and the Dark Journey and, the Freebirds and Ooh Beep Beep Michael Hayes. And that's how we got it. And there's a pattern to it. And, JR and I used to talk about sort of the formatting of that show and how the Cowboy used to always make sure he formatted something hot and then had something so you could at least let it digest in the next segment. And I think I try to do that with stuff when I used to do the writing over at WWE because you can't digest it. If it goes too fast, too hard, while pleasurable for some, it won't be a good television show.
So I think this is where David would normally say that's how rumors start.
Hey, you know what?
There's
Where
plenty
my
of those
jaw
on TV, but sadly are not true for everybody else. But no, the new show, and if you guys have seen it, I haven't seen it yet. I'm probably going to see it tomorrow for the first time. I was there obviously live.
Yeah. We were there live, and I did get a chance to take a look at the entire episode today. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and that's the thing is you're gonna discover it, and that's the great part for everyone in Milwaukee. You're gonna get to see it first. The people that are gonna have to wait to see it on the website, they're gonna have to wait a little bit, and that's why the markets come first. And I tell everyone that. I'm sorry for the people in the United Kingdom who don't seem to know how to read. And people that are in the markets, Sinclair, there's like, well, can we watch it, the show? Yeah, on the ROH website. Even in the UK, I said, yes, available worldwide. Even the UK, yes, the UK is in the world.
But they're not worldwide.
They're across the pond.
Exactly. I don't know if they understand how the world works or the World Wide Web. Maybe they're on Friendster.
It's the .co.uk thing that throws everything off, I think.
Yes. Yeah, they're on Quickster, which is the...
You guys are ruining my
the new
opportunity
Netflix?
to go overseas right now. They're not going to want to see us anymore.
You can't get your passport punched. Lagana, you said one thing that is very, very intriguing because we've talked about it on this program many a times, and that is, and I quote, let it digest. I want to transition from Ring of Honor for a minute. We'll get back to that later and talk about Total Nonstop Action, TNA Wrestling. It seems like, to be honest with you, their biggest problem is they're hopping right in the pool after they eat their meal. They're not letting it digest. Nothing. They don't ever give anything time to sink in.
Yeah, and there's television that is like that, and I watch a lot of television, but in reality, like this, as the Sheen roast, Mike Tyson's up there, another WWE alumnus, with a great tattoo. I just love that tattoo. But you have to let things build. They've been building up this Sheen roast for how long?
Yeah, right.
I mean, this is going to do probably the biggest number in the history of Comedy Central.
Yep.
Against tremendous competition. The Raw rating, if you thought it was bad last week, this Monday, I mean, see where Raw is failing, and TNA is guilty of this as well, is they worry about the minute-by-minutes as opposed to finding stories that make you, like, okay, Miz and Truth were fired tonight. Okay, so, and we're all speculating the NWO stuff, and that's fine. But what else is building? Who is the next John Cena that's on the horizon?
Well, that would be CM Punk.
Yeah, but even he's sort of now leveled off. But okay, great. But
wait, hold on a second. What did you just say?
He's great.
No, he's leveled off, right? He's gotten kind of stale lately.
Well, because what made him cool 2 months ago is not there anymore.
Thank you.
And that's and he's now the second or third banana on Raw.
Yep. As
far as top baby faces, he's behind Hunter, who's still a baby face, and he's behind Cena, who's a baby face. It's fine. I mean, he's doing a great job with everything he's given, but I think obviously you can tell the interest level has gone down. I know the interest level as far as stuff on my site has gone down since then, and I know a lot of websites don't have the same traffic.
Right. You're exactly right.
Well, and for me, what I've been saying is that Triple H is so good at what he does that he has chipped away at CM Punk the past few weeks, where what was really hot is now he's starting to look foolish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing, is you can't ever change the impression somebody has on somebody.
Right.
As soon as you walk up, you can see that hot girl over there. Yeah. Well, she has the following 3 STDs. Those will never great. I don't care how hot she is or guy. I don't want to discriminate. But as soon as you get a bad impression on somebody, it doesn't leave your head. And I always would tell talent and developmental, you're never more intriguing until you open your mouth. So you better have something interesting to say all the time. And as soon as you hurt someone's impression, like poor John Morrison, how do you recover from the last 4 weeks,
right,
or 8 weeks? You don't, and that's the problem. But he's under contract. He's a stock. They're saying, here is IBM. Don't buy it.
Right.
We still own it. And it's what blows my mind about that. Yeah. And going all the way back to something, talking about NWO, my first day in WWE was in Milwaukee. It was at that pay-per-view that the NWO debuted. That was my first day in the company, yeah.
That was a fantastic night. I remember this. That was back when I was still a mark, more so than I am today. What? And I remember someone other ended up with floor seats and standing there when the pay-per-view kicked off, and Hulk Hogan was back in World Wrestling Entertainment, and Hulk Hogan was walking down a WWE aisle to a WWE ring to a sold-out Bradley Center.
Mm-hmm.
And it was goosebumps. It was chills. It was great. It was amazing. Little did I know it would pretty much just collapse over the course of the next month. But really, your first show, that's pretty impressive.
I was hired by Stephanie on Valentine's Day. That Thursday, she was walking out to meet her now husband for Valentine's Day dinner. And she's like, well, what are you doing on Sunday? I said, you tell me. She goes, would you like to be in Milwaukee? I said, no, but I'd like to go to the pay-per-view.
Whoa, come on now. Milwaukee's a great city.
Well, and coming from Los Angeles at the time, I show up and it was freezing. And I came down the elevator that morning, and there was Hogan, Hall, and Nash sitting on the couch in I don't remember if it was a Hyatt or a Hilton that was walking distance to the Bradley Center.
Oh, it's the Hyatt.
At Hyatt. And, I'm like, wow, the NWO. And then I ended up lasting a lot longer than the NWO.
And that's the insight I'd love to hear from in our next segment here, especially there's always all this talk about the Triple H influence in World Wrestling Entertainment. And the talk is there because of obviously who his wife is. I want to know exactly how much influence is really there from Triple H and WWE and how a day in the life went.
Cool. We can talk about the wedding, too.
I'm sorry?
Oh,
I went to the wedding.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Are there pictures?
No, but I did see Michael Hayes lick Brian Gordon's date.
Wow. That's fantastic.
That will leave that as a hook, shall we?
Absolutely.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report with our guest Lagana here on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
540 ESPN.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report here on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com. We're live on Monday night, September 19, 2011. Damian Nelson along with David Hero, David Lagana, and Linda Kay, social media diva. And been a great conversation so far with Lagana of I Want Wrestling and Ring of Honor Wrestling. And just so we don't miss this point, because it's an important one to make, Ring of Honor debuts in dozens of markets all over the country this weekend. I believe that listing of all those stations are available at rohwrestling.com.
Yep, you get it there. Also, I set up a tiny URL. If you go to tinyurl.com/watchROH, you can find them there as well.
Excellent. And before we took that time out, Lagana, we were talking about your time in WWE. And obviously, a lot of people talk a lot about the influence that certain people have in the company. Mm-hmm. And Triple H is a name that comes up frequently, mostly because of his marriage to Stephanie McMahon, if not all because of his marriage to Stephanie McMahon. Tell us a little bit about the influence that Triple H does have. Is he pulling the strings in WWE, or isn't he?
I mean, he is basically the third McMahon child. You know, he travels with them. You know, spends holidays. He's part of the family, and it doesn't hurt that he has a strong background, a strong history of the business. This isn't pick random developmental wrestler who came in knowing nothing about the business and ended up, you know, falling in love with the boss's daughter. I mean, Hunter is, I hate to say it, like all of us, a fan. Mm-hmm. He likes his Motorhead and he likes his Mr. Olympia, but the thing that he was most passionate about was pro wrestling. So for him to get a bad rap as far as, you know, his marriage, yeah. But I mean, it's better than Stephanie marrying, pick any of 100 different wrestlers, you know, as far as someone to have influence.
Right.
Was he using it at the time when he was working? Some can say that. You know, I think each case, you know, had left for different stuff. You know, were there meetings where he said, oh, that guy doesn't have it? Did he say John Cena didn't have it? Yes, he did. And someone corrected me on Twitter when I said it was after his match at WrestleMania. But once Triple H worked with Cena a while, he got to see sort of what was good about Cena and why the people liked him. Mm-hmm. You know, there were guys he didn't like, and there were guys he didn't think he had it, and, you know, those guys are not shy about saying it, and he does have a little influence. He travels with Vince, you know what I mean? Stephanie's not on the road anymore. It's Vince and Hunter.
Right.
You know, he is his surrogate son. He's his son-in-law. Mm-hmm. And, you know how close you are with your family, and some people don't like people in their family, and some do, and obviously, you know, Vince is grooming him to run his business.
Right. What was a day in the life like? Pick a random Monday.
You want me to give you a week? It's probably an easier way to
oh, please do. Yes, absolutely. Because a lot of it, and we talked about earlier, you know, the it's not joyous working for WWE, especially with the travel schedule. And it is not just that one day. It is a constant grind. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. I mean, if you like a job where you'll get no credit, even if you do something well, you are not successful. It's the talent. If the talent does something wrong, it's your fault. You are not paid as well as the talent, which you shouldn't be because you're not taking the majority of the things. You get no royalties. Anything you write while you work there, they own. Let's see. A week was really, I mean, and it's changed the system. I know the reports have come out about the system changing, which was something I pitched 4 years ago, mm-hmm. Home team, road team. But the life is, let's say it's Saturday's pay-per-view week. Since now that the writers don't fly on the jet, Saturday at 4 o'clock, at the latest, you have to be on a plane heading to, this week was Buffalo. So you'd be there the night before. Sunday, you get up at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., head to the building by 11, work the pay-per-view from 11 until midnight, get in a car or a bus, depending on your level of sophistication, and drive 3 to 4 hours tops to the next city, let's say Cleveland. That's 12:36 now. Raw ended an hour and a half ago. They might just be leaving now, depending if Vince has a meeting. So then you drive another 3 or 4 hours. I don't know where SmackDown is. Then you get to your hotel about 4 o'clock in the morning. You fall asleep and have to be back at the next arena by 11 or 12 the next morning, and rinse and repeat. And then you go to the airport at 6 a.m. on Wednesday, and you fly home. And we used to have to go right from the airport to work to get our segments in, and have meetings Thursday and Friday, pitching Vince usually on a Thursday or Friday for 4 hours, and then write a television show. And then it's Saturday, and you start it all over again.
Right.
And, oh, by the way, he doesn't make up his mind until Monday.
Those pitch meetings, that has to be some wild stuff.
It's not as bad as people make it out to be. He wants you to be organized. If you say, well, I want John Cena to win the title, or I want CM Punk to win the title, okay, how do you picture it? What are you going to do from it? If you haven't, remember when you were in school and the teacher would say, show your work, how you sort of solve the problem? He wants you to show your work. He wants you to show you've thought out this idea, because he has to be able to sell it, he has to be able to picture it, and he has to be able to market it. And that's a valuable lesson I learned from him. Having to pitch to him, I can walk into a meeting with anybody now and not be intimidated, because he is the ultimate intimidator. And, it's interesting. And especially if he goes off, he will try and intimidate you back. Him and Alex Greenfield used to have screaming matches, which I know Alex has talked about on Twitter. They would yell at each other. And whenever he would yell, I would go the complete opposite way and be as calm as possible, because I know he was trying to get a reaction out of me. And that's in life. If someone's trying to rile you up and trying to get a reaction out of you, figure out what reaction they're trying to get and go the complete opposite way.
Absolutely.
What was one of your favorite or best ideas that you and the others knew could draw money, that no matter what you guys tried to do, it was never going to get over with Vince?
I think it's hard to remember specific ideas, but I think there were characters and there were flashpoints on certain characters that I felt like. And then the two best examples, one is Ken Anderson. I felt like there was a point where he was, and unfortunately for Ken, he had injury issues that hurt his time there. But, I mean, he was white hot that first 4 months. When he came in and then he had the unfortunate shoulder injury, I felt like that was a time, and he was really going to kick off strong. And then, he had one bad promo that Vince didn't like, and he went from being the illegitimate son of Vince McMahon to, not working there anymore. And the other one is MVP. And I had him on my podcast. He never main evented one pay-per-view in the years he worked there. Someone who is that good a talker, and his work has gotten better, since day one. And he talked about that when I had my conversation with him. And that's why he went to Japan, because he wanted to push himself and become the kind of worker that he thought he was. And so it's characters. The fact that Eddie Guerrero's run as champion didn't go as long as I thought it should have. But that also was on Eddie, who at the time was having doubts in himself, because he took the weight of the world on his shoulders as far as, well, the company's not drawing, or SmackDown wasn't drawing. But at the time, if you go back and look at the damage that was done to SmackDown in that draft, I think I wrote about it on my blog.
Yeah.
That was when Brock Lesnar left, and Kurt Angle was injured, and Big Show went away, and Eddie was left alone with JBL, who at the time was a brand new character.
Right.
He took a lot of that on his shoulders. So it's those type of things that were sort of circumstantial.
Was Ken Anderson treated fairly? Because you say it was that one promo and he sort of lost his favor. We've seen many others give a bad promo from time to time. Was there more to that, not just necessarily in that situation, but in other situations where people just, for whatever reason, could not get the company behind them?
Yeah, I mean, Ken was, and I wasn't there the last year with Ken, and the issues he had with the other talents, but he got moved around a lot, and I'm a big believer in letting people build and spend their time. Like, I was a big proponent of keeping Punk on ECW they wanted to move him to Raw in 2007 in the infamous Wilkes-Barre draft. But I said, I think another year, of him as the top guy in ECW will help him. And that was the same draft they sent us Miz and Morrison, and they said, oh, there's nothing that can be done with these guys. So that's,
Is it that final? Like you present this idea, And it's just dismissed like that in some cases?
Yeah, I mean, poor John, he was Johnny Nice at the time. I remember, Brian said Vince will never do anything with him. And, we took it as a challenge. Dusty Rhodes and I took it as a challenge to create, and he created that character. And that's what I love about John is he is so creative, and the fact that they're just jobbing him out for sins that aren't his, or silly. So
he should ask for that rib back.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's their stock, and they're saying, don't care about this guy. Don't buy his merchandise. Don't buy his T-shirt. Don't buy his DVD because he sucks.
And they do that to people time and time again, it seems, including lately Alberto Del Rio, it seems.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that. And I love, I mean, he was, again, not a character or a person that was around when I was there.
Right.
So he was fresh. I mean, when he debuted a year ago, my God, and because you had no impression of him. It's not like he came from TNA. It's not like he came from, I know he was in Mexico, but, the large majority of WWE fans don't watch CMLL or wherever he came from. So for him, he was brand new, and so everything he touched was new. And now it just doesn't feel as good. So,
from the moment I first saw Alberto Del Rio, it was on a SmackDown that for whatever reason I was watching. That was back before I was watching it every week. And it was like, whoa, who is this guy with this entrance, this special announcer, this music, this pyro, this feel, this epic entrance? I didn't care what he could do in the ring. After seeing it that first time, I'm like, here's a new star.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the key. And you look at guys like that, and that was with Ken. Ken had it. I remember Ken went out as Ken Anderson for his first match. It was supposed to be a dark match, and I told the story on a podcast where he was supposed to just have a dark match with Funaki, and something had happened. His segment had shifted, so we needed to put something on the now recently departed Velocity show. And so he went out and did his Mr. Anderson thing, and it was going to air on Velocity. And I remember Michael Hayes strutting into Gorilla and going to Vince, well, Vince said, that's only on Velocity. We can cut that out. I mean, he is perfect for Raw. And Vince going, well, why didn't you start him before today? SmackDown started him. And just like, a character that, he had it right away. It wasn't even his match that got over. It was just the charisma he had. And that's what you would look for in developmental, which don't even get me started on the WWE developmental system. They have some great talent down there. I mean, Tyler Black has been down there a year.
Yeah.
And Dean Ambrose now is there. And he's probably, those two are probably 10 times better than a lot of the guys that was found by Ty Bailey, like that with these football players who just see this as a paycheck.
But don't you think they do that to certain guys because they're already internet darlings?
Well, no, let's ask it more directly. David Hero sits here and says that people come over from Ring of Honor, from TNA, from wherever else that they may have been, if they've been somewhere else.
And they want to get the stink off them.
And exactly, that's the word that you use. Is that true? Does that happen?
Yeah. I mean, look at every creation that has ever been created on the outside of WWE and what has happened to it on the inside. Can you name one that has been successful in the incarnation that it was on the outside when it came on inside? Look at what they did to Goldberg, NWO, WCW, ECW.
WCW's purchase and the implementation by WWE could be the biggest failure of the last 25 years in professional wrestling.
I mean, financially, I will say it is not, because WWE made so much money on that library, and they did draw the big pay-per-view.
Right.
I will agree. Creatively, it's probably one of the biggest. The slow death of ECW might be the second, and Quickster is the third worst.
At Quickster or Netflix's Quickster?
Oh, brutal. Like I saw that last night before I went to bed, and I go, they're done. Because I talked about this when they had the price structure. They put out the worst apology in the world 8 weeks after they sue everybody.
8 weeks
and then they have the worst rebranding, which, by the way, some guy's got Quickster as his Twitter handle.
Right.
I mean, come on, that is bad on some. And the video looked like it was produced by an epileptic 8-year-old. So,
It's late, huh?
Hey, but hold on, wait. It's somebody's birthday.
It is.
Coming up in 15 minutes.
Well, Milwaukee time, 15 minutes.
Oh, right now, out east.
Yeah, someone's out east. It's his
Linda,
birthday.
are you going to sing? Go Marilyn Monroe?
Happy birthday.
Oh, this is awesome.
Oh, Linda.
21,
Linda.
right? Again?
Yeah, it is my 15th anniversary of 21.
Fantastic. That's tremendous.
I don't look a day under 43. And people are actually surprised I'm as old as I am, especially after working in WWE for years. I should look more haggard.
You should have, yeah. You aged well for being there for,
6 years.
6 years? Yeah, that's impressive.
6 years on the road, 50 weeks a year for 6 years. Yeah, and it's all the lack of drugs that I've done.
Let me clarify that. The lack of drugs.
Yeah, exactly.
How many times did you get that 3 a.m. phone call from Vinnie Mac saying, we're having a meeting in 30 minutes?
It wasn't he was not really a 3 a.m.er. And then he would call it the weird, or would email. I remember we had this blizzard, and this is a positive event story. We had this blizzard in Connecticut. It was like one of the ones that, you're trapped and he wasn't going anywhere. And we emailed back and forth creative. It was like a Saturday night where everyone was stuck in Connecticut. I remember looking at my balcony. It was like 2 feet of snow. And he just was like, what about this? What if we do this with Big Show and Kurt and JBL and Joy Giovanni and Amy Weber? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was that time period. It was something about, there was just some storyline, and he just was like dead on. But sometimes he wouldn't be. And this was also before he tore his quads, which I will say is the moment he went insane for some reason. When he tore his quads, he went completely insane and unhooked.
That moment, though, that's a clip I watch regularly because it is so hilarious. Not that he got hurt, but him sitting in that ring, I think it was Rumble 2005.
And no selling it.
No selling it completely, and the excruciating pain he had to be in.
Well, we have, I don't know if he has talked about it or not. We believe he tore one quad, and then because he then wanted to be a man, he walked on 2 legs on his own power back to Gorilla, and we think that's where he tore his other quad because he wanted to. That's everything you need to know about the man, how proud he was, and didn't want people to know, how hurt he was. But we were all sitting. I was about to produce Batista. I was going to produce some Batista DVD extra. You can tell the quality of the work I was doing at the time. And I was waiting for him to come back from the Rumble, and I'm looking in the ring, and like, I don't think I had seen them both go over. I just look over, and Vince is on his butt, and everyone's in the ring and going, what the heck just happened? And it's all because I think Bischoff and Teddy Long were nowhere to be found. I think they had either they were not anywhere that they could be called.
Yeah.
Vince had been sitting in Gorilla, and he didn't stretch. And he, you're sitting in a chair, and you're at the time I think he was 50, whatever years old, 58.
Yeah.
He's sitting there, and his legs weren't warmed up, and he marched to the ring, and it was when he tried to run. I don't know why he tried to run, but it's one of those moments that will live forever.
And so many of those moments happened, especially over the time that you were in WWE. You mentioned Goldberg earlier, and I don't think we could not talk about that disastrous match, which wasn't a bad match, by the way, but the way it all came about at WrestleMania 20 between Goldberg and
Brock Lesnar.
Both men on their way out of WWE, Stone Cold Steve Austin, the special guest referee. How big a challenge, and I'm not sure how deeply involved you were with that particular matchup, but how big of a challenge that was given the circumstances surrounding that match and the expectations of the company for that match and the wrestling fans for that match?
That match was originally booked. Brock had lost the month before to Eddie,
Mm-hmm.
and Goldberg's contract was up, I think, the next day, or was that after that WrestleMania. That match was originally booked for Brock to beat the unbeatable WCW champion, and for Brock to have gone on and worked with Taker, and that was, and people wonder, is that the heat that was there between Taker and Brock? And I don't know, and I won't even begin to speculate because Brock screwed off without giving back the job that Taker had done for him on numerous occasions.
Mm-hmm.
When I'll never forget the day, and I know I wrote about this about that draft that year. We were sitting in the writers' room, and Vince walks in. He goes, "Guys, Brock Lesnar is finishing in 2 weeks. We need to readjust the brands." And I don't know if we knew that Kurt was hurt. I don't think we did. And so we have to readjust his brands. And this match is just, I don't know what we're going to do with this match. And so
because the match had been announced.
We had done the angle. The Brock thing came very quickly. It was after some TV in Huntsville that Brock gave them the news. Why I remember such things, I'll never know. I remember every building. Like today, the Cleveland building. I remember every show we did there and how ridiculous it is. I remember everything we did there. So, but yeah, it just came quick, and that match, they were left with this match that. And at the time, I think neither one of them cared because it's sort of like that last day of work or that last day of school. Come on, no one cared.
Right.
And you just end up not, doing it. And that Steve Austin was the only one that sort of was staying around, and that's why he ended up stunning both of them.
Yeah. WrestleMania 23. A lot of people have talked about the controversy or the perceived controversy surrounding the matchup between Shawn Michaels and John Cena.
What was the controversy?
That John Cena was to win the match, and Shawn Michaels didn't necessarily agree with that plan. Again, never necessarily confirmed, but you could, I guess, confirm or deny that was an issue.
I was at the time I was on ECW, which we were just happy to have a match on the show.
All 2 minutes of it.
Yeah, but I remember that was my goal was to get Tommy Dreamer on the show because he had never been on a WrestleMania, and that was what was important. So I came up with the match that I thought would get Tommy Dreamer on, which was that at the time because we had Punk was in that match, and I thought it was important that Punk was in Money in the Bank because I thought that positioned him well for the next year. And I just felt like he shouldn't have been in that match. I felt like he, as a star, he needed to be in a bigger match. But I don't remember any issue with that. I think because at the time, Shawn Michaels got thrown into that match. It was supposed to be Hunter and Cena too at the time. And Shawn went and did the rematch. We did the rematch on television. Remember that Raw match that went like 42 minutes? Yeah,
overseas, I believe.
Yeah, it was in England, from what I remember. Oh, that was when I went to Italy. That was right after the Santino Marella debut. In Italy, and then that was the next week.
Wow, that was that long ago. Dang.
Yes, it was. It was 2007. That was my last WrestleMania. But yeah, that was a great match, and Shawn Michaels has had so many great WrestleMania moments, and I don't know what the discussions were on the finish or not at the time, and I don't remember exactly.
Well, what I'm sure you do remember is all the time you're spending with Ring of Honor Wrestling right now, and we've had on the last 2 weeks on this program, on our TV program anyways, Kerry Silken of Ring of Honor, and then the wrestling's greatest tag team, Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas. And, we talked about the shows debuting this weekend, and David and I were at the show in Chicago Ridge. I believe you returned to Chicago Ridge on November 19th for an internet pay-per-view. But
I don't think it's an internet pay-per-view.
Oh, sorry about that. But this past weekend, you did have an internet pay-per-view. That was Death Before Dishonor. So tell us a little about what Ring of Honor was all about this weekend and will be all about this upcoming weekend in those markets that it's going to be debuting in, and what your role is with Ring of Honor.
Yeah, my role, I had produced the entire run of the HDNet show, which Adam Pearce at the time was looking for somebody that had done, large-scale television because it was much bigger than anything he had done. So he had asked me to come in. But, with the new Sinclair purchase, they have their own team in place. So what I have sort of settled into is sort of the social media, new media manager as far as making sure that this is all set up and, attacking our fan base in a good way. And making sure they're involved. And, like the last week, we had a bunch of giveaways and trying to get our fan base and engage them because, again, WWE will say get into conversation with us. That's what it makes my blood boil. But they don't, go watch NFL 32, which I haven't watched yet, but I saw a little clip of it where they're using the conversation. When have they brought up any tweets of any fan on any WWE broadcast?
Well, there was that one time, and then. Well, never.
Exactly, and the struggle we're having with the TV show is you guys have seen it already. So it was produced, 4 weeks ago. It's hard to sort of slide tweets into the television show when it's been produced so far in advance. There are tweets though from the. I had put out a call the week before the taping for. Give reasons why you should watch ROH, which is the hashtag for this, by the way. And so we've got fan tweets in there. I think one of them is, you should watch ROH because I'm Batman, which was my favorite one that got sent in, and I loved it. I'm Batman. So, and that's sort of my goal is finding ways to interact and stuff. Things have gone viral. Kevin Steen showed up and, he went outside after the pay-per-view, and there were 19 angles of his promo on YouTube. Yeah. Finding ways to get new fans to discover it, and that's the great part is, and that's why I love tracking our Ring of Honor Twitter is so many fans having seen the commercial on their local affiliates, which means these are people that were actively already fans of our product. Just imagine all the fans that are going to discover it in the next little bit. For everybody says Ring of Honor is an independent company. It's not. It's now the third biggest company in the United States. And
on that point, I want to stop and ask you a question there. And David Hero, I want you to chime in because David Hero, why don't you share the challenge that you've shared about TNA Wrestling and its notoriety?
Oh, just because of the name, when you book their talent, and you put them on the poster, like if you go with a Tracy Brooks or an ODB, TNA Wrestling, it comes across the wrong way.
And the fact that some of the legends, some of the bigger stars who have been in TNA can go to a public place
and
today,
not even be recognized.
And be asked where you've been.
Yeah, where have you been?
I wonder, and I'm not trying to raise the bar too high here, but I wonder if Ring of Honor being on so many familiar stations to wrestling fans and being on broadcast television starting this weekend will be the new number 2 in professional wrestling.
I think that's a lofty goal. I don't think that is the goal. I think the goal is the markets. It's Milwaukee is our goal, is to be able to run Milwaukee 3 times a year, 4 times a year, using that television station. I think the ultimate goal would be able to do not monthly in every market, but go back to the 1983 model of running the Garden every month off the television that was strong in those things. And, Joe Koff is brilliant about this. He is a salesman, and he believes in this model. Otherwise, he wouldn't have got Sinclair Broadcasting, which is a very profitable company. Right. They generate revenue, and this is all about generating revenue. And, by the way, bringing a quality wrestling product with new stars that people can discover. That's what I like about it. It's why I stayed through the very lean times of the last 9 months, was because there's such a product here. And that's everything I've ever wanted to do, is find something that's different and exposes a new product.
And that product will be exposed nationwide this weekend. Lagana, we're out of time. I can't believe it. It's been an hour already. We definitely got to have you on again and talk some more wrestling with you.
You guys have to come on my podcast. You got to come on the I Want Wrestling podcast.
Done deal. I'll go. David Hero charges a fee, and it's not worth it. I mean, $5 is a lot of money.
Well, so, I'll line up some ladies for him. There's plenty of lovely ladies.
There we go. See? Done deal. Absolutely.
There's Tiffany in Philadelphia. I'm sure there's plenty of other girls all around that will be more than happy to be super friending on the I Want Wrestling podcast.
Fantastic.
Tremendous. Lagana, we definitely will take you up on that offer and have you back on this program soon as well. This Saturday, all over the country, this weekend, all over the country, Ring of Honor Wrestling on Sinclair Broadcasting Stations. The website's, again, rohwrestling.com, and there was a tiny URL.
Oh, yeah, tiny URL, /watch ROH. If you go to facebook.com /Ring of Honor, there's a tab there as well.
At Lagana on Twitter, some amazing podcasts to listen to right now, iwantwrestling.com. And right here in Milwaukee in southeastern Wisconsin, that's Saturday night, 9 o'clock p.m. on Channel 24, My 24 Milwaukee, and the Pro Wrestling Report following Ring of Honor Wrestling with prime time at 10 o'clock p.m. as well. Lagana, thank you so much for joining us. Look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, darling.
You're welcome.
This has been the award-winning Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. We welcome you to join us this Saturday on My 24 Milwaukee, 10 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time for the premiere of the Pro Wrestling Report primetime television. And we'll be back here again in 2 weeks on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.